Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we are diving into something really fascinating. We're unpacking a massive, highly organized roster of human talent, the newly revealed Princess Heartline third batch. Now, whether you already know some of these names or you're just kind of curious about how public initiatives organize these large-scale influencer groups, you are in for a treat. We are going to decode this entire 144-member framework literally tier by tier.
Okay, to really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of what we're talking about, you just need to look right here at this number, 144. I mean, that is just a staggering figure, right? We aren't just talking about a handful of personalities thrown together for a quick campaign. This represents the exact total number of members in this newly revealed Gen Z lineup. Organizing 144 distinct individuals into a cohesive unit, that requires some absolutely intense categorization and a crystal clear hierarchy. Without that, you just have a chaotic list of names. But as you'll see in just a moment, chaos is the exact opposite of what's happening here.
Now, before we start breaking down exactly who is in this lineup, we really need to establish the context given to us by the source material. The source explicitly frames this entire 144-member roster with this exact quote, Gen Z for Princess Heartline Third Batch Grand Reveal video for 20th Congress of the Philippines by Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano and House Speaker Boji Dai. So that right there is the stated origin and purpose of this specific alignment. As always with our explainers, we're just looking directly at the data presented to us. Our goal today is to neutrally unpack the sheer organization of this roster created for the 20th Congress and examine exactly how these political figures have decided to classify such a massive group of Gen Z voices.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for decoding this classification system today. First, we'll cover the 20th Congress reveal. Second, the featured and main rosters. Third, the official and extended lists. Fourth, the legacy and final groups. And then finally, we'll wrap up with the 144-member big picture. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the 20th Congress reveal, and how this acts as a multi-tiered system. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks everything down. You see, when you've got over 100 highly recognizable Gen Z figures, you literally can't just present them all at once. The human brain actually needs categorization to make sense of it all. Look at how perfectly organized these 144 names are into 6 distinct tiers. We start off with a featured roster, then move into main names, broaden out into an official list, widen the net even further with an extended roster, establish a lasting presence with a legacy roster, and then finally conclude with a final roster. This setup implies a very specific role, or at least a specific phase of introduction, for every single person. It's like a giant puzzle designed to maximize impact for the 20th Congress without totally overwhelming the audience from day one.
Moving right along to Section 2, the featured and main rosters. Think of this as the vanguard core.
If this whole 144-member group is a pyramid, well, this is the very top. Let's spotlight a few of these vanguard names just to anchor ourselves. We are talking about highly recognizable, real heavy-hitting Gen Z cultural influencers here. You've got names like Catherine Bernardo, Liza Soberano, Julia Barreto, and Andrea Berlantes. By placing these specific individuals at the absolute top of the hierarchy, the organizers are immediately signaling the high profile and the vast cultural reach they intend for this initiative. So, the crucial point is, when you view these top tiers side by side, the underlying strategy becomes crystal clear. The featured roster includes major heavy hitters like Janela Salvatore and Maris Racal, while right next to it, the main names roster highlights folks like AC Bonificio and Oniana Angeles. These two groups alone serve as the initial hook for the public. By separating them into featured and main, the organizers actually created a subtle hierarchy even within the very top tier of the roster. It ensures that specific, highly visible stars are the ones leading the charge.
Okay, that brings us to Section 3, the official and extended lists. This is all about broadening the reach.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because if those first 2 tiers set up the vanguard, these next 2 massively expand the Gen Z footprint. The official list introduces names like Eliza Barromeo and Maxine Trinidad, while the extended roster pushes those boundaries even further with individuals like Gaia Misha and Angelina Cruz. This visual wall of names, it represents a very deliberate strategy to cast an incredibly wide net. They're capturing entirely different segments of the demographic by using these specialized expanded lists.
Next up is Section 4, the legacy and final groups. This is where they effectively lock the structure into place.
To really anchor the base of this massive lineup, the organizers placed prominent names like Jillian Ward, Francine Diaz, and Miles Ocampo in these concluding sections. It's actually super fascinating because it ensures that audience engagement doesn't just drop off a cliff as we reach the bottom of the framework. Even right down at the end, the level of star recognition remains incredibly high.
Take a look at the legacy roster, featuring folks like Annalene Salvador and Francine Diaz. That word legacy is a pretty powerful categorization, right? It inherently implies a lasting impact or some kind of foundational, historical importance to the group. Meanwhile, the final roster, which includes Ya Vigor and Yesha Camille, officially rounds out the lineup. It goes to show that every single one of these 144 slots has a very designated structural purpose in completing the anatomy of the group.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the 144-member big picture, looking at the cumulative structure.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we've been unpacking today. When you zoom all the way out, you're looking at 14 distinct Gen Z voices meticulously organized across 6 specific tiers. And remember, as we established earlier, this was specifically assembled for the 20th Congress by Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano and House Speaker Boji Dai. This isn't just some random assortment of names pulled from a hat. It is a carefully curated blueprint. It's designed to mobilize a very specific demographic at a massive scale. It's truly a masterclass in human organization directed toward a defined political era.
So, the data gives us the structure, it gives us the names, and it gives us the context. But it definitely leaves us with one incredibly compelling thought to walk away with. When you take 144 highly influential, structurally organized Gen Z voices and direct that curated energy toward a specific political era, the impact is bound to be pretty significant. So, I leave you with this. How will this massive, meticulously structured 144-member Gen Z lineup actually shape the 20th Congress in practice? It's a fascinating question, and honestly, only time will tell. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Until next time, keep looking for the structure behind the information.